Hello, my fellow mathletes, and welcome back to question number 2 on the 2013 Manitoba Math Competition. So question 2, like most questions early on these contests, split into two parts. Part A for question 2, solve absolute value of x squared minus 6 is equal to 2. Okay, that shouldn't take us too long. So absolute value either turns a negative number positive or a positive number negative. So we have two sort of scenarios. We could have had x squared minus 6 is 2, in which case absolute value did nothing to it, or x squared minus 6 actually made negative 2 positive. And in this way, we break it down into two cases, but we get rid of the absolute value sign. Because absolute value is very hard to manipulate. I find the calculus students need this reminded to them a lot. You cannot just start manipulating absolute values everywhere. Oftentimes, you will just have to break it into cases. Remember the definition of the absolute value. Okay? Remember, absolute value of something is x if it's positive, well, if it's not negative, and negative x if it's negative. Okay? Yes, that works for this question, but it also works for things like finding derivatives of expressions using absolute value. This isn't a calculus contest. This isn't a calculus contest, so we're not going to be dealing with that sort of thing. But we get two different equations. Bringing the 6 over, we either get x squared is equal to 8, or we get x squared is equal to 4. And each of these give me two different possibilities. So x is either the positive square root of 8, or the negative square root of 8. And here x is either positive 2 or negative 2. So here are all my values for x. Okay? Just taking a quick glance at this question, we would expect 4 answers in general. Absolute value usually breaks things down into two cases, and square root usually breaks things down into a plus or minus case. Now, you can get the odd situation where the absolute value of 0 only goes back to 0, so it doesn't break into two things. But yeah, in general, we'd expect 4 answers. So 2b. The roots of the quadratic equation 3x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 are 2 plus or minus root 3. Find the values of b and c. All right. Well, they gave me the roots, so I can choose to express this standard form quadratic equation using my roots. So plus root 3 and x minus 2 minus root 3. Okay. Now, there's lots of things we could do with this, but one of the things I'm choosing to do is say, this is x minus 2 minus root 3. And x minus 2, really all I need to do is expand this out and then compare coefficients. At this point, it's just me choosing to expand it out in certain ways. So I recognize, hey, this is difference of squares. But if you want to just expand it out right away, go right ahead. But this gets rid of this root 3 and turns it into a 3. So now x minus 2 squared is x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus root 3 squared is just minus 3. So this is x squared minus 4x plus 1. And now we compare coefficients, but hey, we're missing something. We're missing that a value, that's the coefficient of x squared. Okay? So what we can do to correct for this, I mean, both of these have the same roots. It's just we need a stretching factor on our parabola, if you think about it that way. So we really just need to add a 3 back in to make sure everything matches up. And now we get 3x squared minus 12x plus 3. And here we are going to correctly compare coefficients. I wonder how many people just said negative 4 and 1 for the answers, because you do have to watch and make sure the constant in front of the x squared does not come up a whole lot, especially with these types of questions. People more pay attention to that constant in front of the x squared. If you're graphing, that tells you whether the parabola is up or down, but it also does tell you how stretched out it is. And we needed to stretch our parabola by a factor of 3 to make sure that the b and the c matched up. So again, as I say, I'm curious as to see how many people that year may have made that goof. I'm not sure how I could find out. but that'll be something for me to do in my spare time. So that wraps up our question. It was question 2, right? Yeah, question 2. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at question number 3. Join me for that next time.